So tonight was meant to be an historic night. Tonight was meant to be the night when A-League soccer was played at the Lakeside Stadium for the first time in A-League history. The last time that professional home and away soccer was played at the venue was 18 years ago. That was when South Melbourne were the champions and the most successful club in the history of Australian soccer. South Melbourne have since were then removed from the competition when it became the A-League. Now, this is where I think it becomes interesting, or I think South Melbourne has missed a major trick. Um, the FFA for years have said that Lakeside Stadium was not up to A-League standard. That was one of the reasons for denying them entry into the A-League. So you would have thought that seeing the FFA had been saying this for almost 2 decades, that Lakeside Stadium is not up to A-League standard, that when it was announced that Western United was going to play home matches at the venue, they would have been jumping for joy and saying, look, here's evidence our venue is up to standard. They can't say that ever again. That was not South Melbourne's reaction. South Melbourne reacted angrily. South Melbourne did not want Western United playing at the venue. Now, South Melbourne obviously have some pull with the executives who run this stadium, because the executives of Lakeside Stadium and Melbourne Sports Centres then backed down and didn't allow West United to play at the venue. So South Melbourne feel like they've had a victory. They've removed their competitor from their venue. But I actually think what South Melbourne has done has actually hurt their cause. If Western United had have played at this venue, it would then be impossible for the FFA to say it wasn't up to standard. Now, the other thing it would have done is the people who had have attended the match would have been impressed at how good the facilities at the ground were. Remember, the Victorian public has been told by the FFA for almost 2 decades that the facilities at Lakeside Stadium are not up to A-League standard. So if you're a soccer fan and you've been hearing this for almost 2 decades, you're going to think obviously the FFA know what they're talking about. Obviously the facilities aren't that good. I think that a lot of soccer fans would have been surprised by how good they were. I also think that the commentators and the press would have also been very impressed at just how good the facilities at Lakeside Stadium are. This could have been this could have really given the South Melbourne bit of boost. Instead, where they're now back in the position that they've always been in, that they've got a venue and the FFA can say that it's not up to standard. And the press and the commentators won't talk about how good it is because they don't get to go there. But I think it really does say something, though, about the FFA and how nonsensical their reasoning has been for not allowing South Melbourne into the competition, when just a few years ago they were saying that Lakeside Stadium was not up to standard. And now Western United are of the view that this is the best, the most appropriate venue for them to play at. Now, there's a lot of stadiums which they could have played at. They could have played their games at Marvel Stadium, Amy Park, GMHBA Stadium in Geelong, Ballarat. They could have played at Icon Park, which is Princes Park. But they chose a venue that the FFA are saying was not up to A-League standard. So I'm quite confused as to what South Melbourne think they've achieved here. I don't think they've really hurt the Western United. I mean, the Western United will now just play their game in Geelong. I mean, my view personally is that Lakeside Stadium is marginally better, marginally more appropriate for A-League soccer than GMHBA Stadium in Geelong, but GMHBA Stadium in Geelong is still a fantastic facility. There's been hundreds of millions of dollars spent on it. There is nothing at all wrong with it. Just the same as Marvel Stadium, Amy Park, Icon Park. There's so many options for the Western United. You know, they obviously thought that Lakeside Stadium was marginally better, as I do, but this does nothing to hurt Western United. This is not going to make them leave the competition. This is not going to help South Melbourne enter the A-League. But soccer being played at Lakeside Stadium definitely would have made people think, this is a great place for soccer. Why has there been no soccer played here for nearly 2 decades? Um, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment in the comment section. But yeah, my view is definitely that this is a missed opportunity for the South Melbourne Soccer Club. I think if South Melbourne was smart, they would have been doing everything they can. They would have been encouraging Melbourne City and the Melbourne Victory to play games at the venue. They would have done this years ago. And if Victory or City had have played some of their smaller games, at the last bidding process, the FFA couldn't have used Lakeside Stadium as an excuse, which is what they did. It's funny though because South Melbourne have no problem with the Melbourne Victory ladies team playing games there. I think the other big issue is this is really the executives at Lakeside Oval, the executives at the Lakeside Stadium and Melbourne Sports Centres. What are they doing? Who are they representing? Now they're being employed by to do the best thing for the Lakeside Stadium and Melbourne Sports Centres. How is refusing a professional soccer match the best thing for the venue? Obviously, they're South Melbourne people and they think that, this is a good thing for the South Melbourne Soccer Club to have a victory over Western United and kick them out of the venue. But who's paying their salary? Is it South Melbourne or is it the Lakeside Stadium and Sports Centres? It's clear, they're clearly not doing what is best for Lakeside Stadium. They're doing what is in their own best interest and what they think is in the best interest of the South Melbourne Soccer Club. I think these executives have let down the Melbourne Stadium, Lakeside Stadium, and Melbourne Sports Centres, and at the same time, they've actually hurt the chances of the South Melbourne Soccer Club entering the A-League, and they've done absolutely no damage to the Western United because they can just go to Geelong and play at a venue that is absolutely state-of-the-art and world-class. This is a venue that is hosting games in next year's 2020 World Cup. So the ICC thinks it's a great venue and up to ICC standard. The AFL think it's up to AFL standard. So why on earth would it not be good enough for Western United to play in front of 3,000 or 4,000 people? Absolutely ridiculous. Let us know what you think.